Good morning, everyone. That was a very useful session, Claire. I'm nervously looking at what's behind me now. There's a big empty fish tank with no fish in it. So if anyone's wondering what that is. If you've got any questions as we go through, pop them in the chat and I'll take the questions probably at the end, answer any questions you have. But let's have a look at Etsy. I absolutely love Etsy. I've been using it for quite a few years now. And it's one of those things that I started out on eBay, as I'll tell you in a moment, and we were looking at something else to do, another sort of marketplace. And my wife said to me, well, why don't we do Etsy? And I said, no, can't see Etsy's worthwhile, no. And of course, she was right, as always. So we moved on to Etsy and it's been absolutely fantastic for us. So I'm going to take you through how you can make a very, very nice living on Etsy. There are lots of different ways and lots of different techniques depending on how you want to do it. So I'm going to, in the time we've got, take you through as many of those as possible so that you sort of understand it a bit more. So basically, this is for anyone who wants to start an e-commerce shop. Now you may be undecided between eBay, Etsy, or of course Shopify if you want to sort of go independent. With Shopify, of course, you've got to generate all your own customers, whereas with eBay and Etsy, you have a market there or a customer base there. Now, I started out, as Claire said, on eBay many, many years ago, and I do still sell on eBay. But I'll be perfectly honest, I'm getting as far away from eBay as possible, reducing that down and down. And just increasing my Etsy businesses all the time, because that's where it really is at the moment, in my opinion. So it's for anyone who wants to set up a business, and I'll go through what you need to do, because there are lots of different techniques and things you need to know in order to actually make Etsy really, really work for you. So it's anyone who wants to increase an existing Etsy business. I don't know if anyone's already got a business on Etsy or whether they've sort of tried it in the past. Some people try and fail because they don't know how to approach it, how to market it. It's for anyone who wants to sell on Etsy without making a product. This is a big misconception. Everyone thinks that Etsy is all about crafts, and to a certain extent it is. Etsy markets itself as the sort of handmade and vintage marketplace because it's tried to carve out a niche for itself, which it's done very, very successfully. But as you'll see, as I sort of go through, you don't need to make anything at all. It's for anyone who wants to set up a business with no outlay or stock. Now, I said that there's lots of different methods of using Etsy. So it may be that you do actually want to carry stock, and we'll look at that to begin with. But there is a way that you can actually set up a business straight away without buying stock, without having to post anything even. So it can provide you with a fabulous passive income. All depends entirely how you want to handle it. So basically, if you want to make proper money on Etsy, I'm going to take you through exactly what you need to do. So why should you listen to me? Claire's told you a little bit about my background. I started off in advertising and marketing, started at the bottom and worked my way up to a very, very senior level. So I've got this strong sort of advertising background, advertising and marketing. And that's what I've used to absolutely get the maximum from eBay in its day, and especially now from Etsy. And you can do far, far more with Etsy than you can with eBay. At first, I thought Etsy was a little bit limiting, but once you begin to understand it and what you can do with it, as Claire mentioned, it's a way of actually building a brand, which is very, very difficult on some of the other platforms. So I've done all sorts. I've been in retail. I've had my own retail businesses, lots of them. Got out of that a long time ago, and for the last 15 years, yeah, I've been making a living purely online. And so that's where I am now. So this is just to give you some idea. This is one of my shops, and there's a big clue there, because one of the ways to make big money on Etsy is to have numerous shops, to stack them up basically. So this gives you some idea of the potential, and this is just one shop. You'll see that this is a higher priced item shop, so the conversion rate is actually low. Now, if we look at this one was just started about 6 months ago during lockdown. It was started with, I spent £200 on stock. It's a one with actual physical stock. Spent £200 on stock, and that one's already taken 4,300. And you can see that it's starting to build. It just grows and grows and grows. The conversion rate on this, because it's a lower priced item, is higher at 3.2%. So that's just some idea of what you can achieve. I mean, if you look at this is just a very, very small little business which I've got on Etsy. If you wanted a little bit of extra money for those holidays and things like that, you could do something like that. This will earn you a very nice little bit of extra income, a side income if you like, but you can make big money by either stacking up shops, stacking up bigger value shops if you like, and that way you can make a very, very good income indeed. So I'm going to take you through the misconception, because everyone thinks, as I mentioned, that Etsy is purely for crafts, and they sort of visualize people sat at home knitting probably tea cozies and things like that, and or making up little bits of jewelry and things like that. And there are a lot of crafts on Etsy, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you're a crafts person and you want to sell your product on Etsy, it's fantastic for that. The problem with that is whether you can actually make enough money from that. Obviously, it's very, very labor intensive. You've got to make your own items. And if it's a hobby and you love it and selling it is a sideline, if you like, then that's great. I mean, I bought some cufflinks for my son last Christmas on Etsy, and they were made up from the cogs out of a watch. So you had these beautiful cufflinks this lady had made. She'd set all of these cogs out of a watch into a blue acrylic finish and sold them for, I can't remember what I paid, maybe £15. Absolutely mad, you know, lovely product. She wrapped it all up, sent me a note, etc., etc. But where's the money in that? At the end of the day, the reason for going on Etsy realistically is to make money, to make a business. And you know, she was doing this and selling it and making an absolute minuscule profit. So as you'll see, Etsy isn't all for crafts at all. The top selling categories are actually home and living, art and collectibles, and jewelry. Excuse me. Now, obviously, in amongst that are some craft items, but as you can see, it's not predominantly crafts. You don't need to make anything at all, and I'll come on to that in a minute. Excuse me. If we compare it with eBay, because I said we'll do some comparisons, eBay's top selling categories are electronics, automotive, and health and beauty. And as I've put at the bottom there, you know, electronics and automotive, there's not a lot of profit in them. There are in say automotive car parts, there are very, very high markups, but the problem on eBay is that everybody slashes their prices in order to sell the item. And so the actual profit margin is being pushed down and down and down. At the end of the day, you know, an iPhone from one seller is exactly the same as an iPhone from another seller. So you will buy the one that's cheapest. The same with a car part or something like that. And so it's very, very competitive. And unfortunately, human nature being what it is, people tend to think that the only way they can get their niche or their part of the market, if you like, is to cut prices. And I've had this in the past where I've had some very profitable lines, and then somebody else will see what you're doing. They'll come in, they'll think, oh, I'll do that for £10 cheaper. Somebody else will come along, oh, they're selling, I'll do that for £10 cheaper. And at the end of the day, nobody is making any money out of it. So you move on to the next thing. Now, you find that much more on eBay than on Etsy. It depends obviously on the category, but it's less competitive on Etsy. So that's just a bit of a comparison of the top level categories, if you like. Oh, now I'm moving too fast here now. Right, so what can you sell on Etsy? You know, I've just picked some random things. There literally are thousands and thousands of things. Now, none of these on here, I would say, are things that you would expect to find on Etsy. For instance, books, makeup and cosmetics, plants. I don't think very many people would expect to find plants on there. During lockdown, we were all trying to buy things from garden centres and things like that online, and we were in a queue for 2 hours to try and buy a tomato plant last year. But if you'd gone on Etsy, you would have found that on there were lots of people and companies selling plants, seeds, garden accessories, literally everything. And a lot of that is brand new. There are people propagating house plants at home and selling them on Etsy. But apart from that, you can sell anything new to do with gardening, basically. Pet accessories. Again, all of these, or the majority of these, you'll see are new items. I mean, you can sell dog collars, you can sell dog beds. And again, all of these are brand new. There are sort of diversifying slightly from pets. If you wanted to, if you're a beekeeper or it's an interest, you don't have to be interested in beekeeping to sell beekeeping products. Obviously, you would want a little bit of background knowledge. But beekeeping, you can sell beekeeping supplies on Etsy, and there are big markups in a lot of those products. Again, equestrian items, anything for your horse, any equipment at all, or riding gear, anything like that, you can sell brand new on Etsy. So it's not what Etsy sort of projects as being this vintage and handmade marketplace at all. There is a big percentage of that, but there is a mass of new things you can sell. Kitchenware, you can sell bizarrely. I mean, I do find this a bit bizarre myself, but you can go and sell brand new pans on there. You can sell kitchen implements, whisks and rolling pins and whatever. You know, it doesn't come under vintage and handmade at all, but there are people on there selling literally thousands of these products. Stamps and coins, you might think, yeah, that falls into the vintage sort of side of things as well. But if you've got a hobby in those sort of, you know, stamps or coins or anything like that, you could obviously convert them into a business on Etsy. Just going to look at a few more. Dolls' houses. This is quite a good market because you can sell not necessarily the houses, obviously you can. You need to think of size and things like that when you're selling things on any online marketplace. But there are very, very good markups in, you know, the pieces of doll's house furniture, in the paper for putting on the walls, and all these different sort of items. Fancy dress is a big niche on Etsy, and a lot of it is brand new. So for instance, if you want to go and buy a lightsaber, you'll find a brand new lightsaber, without doubt, made in China. You can go and buy it on Etsy. So again, it's all brand new things which you can sell and is permitted by Etsy. Tools is another thing you can sell. We spoke about crafts and craftspeople, and obviously there are a lot on Etsy. So basically, if you wanted to set up a business selling tools specifically for jewelry making or any other craft, you could sell those tools on Etsy, because at the end of the day, you've got a captive market. So, you know, the first place they will go to look for their tools is Etsy. Clothing and accessories. This is a very, very rapidly growing category on Etsy. I think, again, during lockdown, we couldn't go out and buy, and people started buying clothing and related items, sunglasses, all these sorts of things on Etsy. And of course, now people have got used to going on Etsy and buying on Etsy. They're staying there. And so, I mean, I tended to not buy clothes online. I'll be quite honest. I've sold clothes online, but I tended to not buy them online pre-lockdown. And then lockdown, I needed some clothes. I ordered online, and now I wouldn't think twice about it. It's that what's happened with lockdown is that people have come, obviously the online commerce was growing, and it's been growing at a phenomenal rate. But what's happened is lockdown has pushed that forward several years. And now it's not going to go backwards. That online marketplace is now, it was there to stay and it was growing, but now it's escalated over that lockdown period. And it won't go back. People have rushed out to the shops, but they will still buy massive amounts online. So clothing, I forget the figures now, but it's grown by a phenomenal percentage. It wasn't one of the biggest categories. It was always a good category on Etsy, but in the last sort of year, it's grown massively. Furniture is another interesting one, something you wouldn't think of selling on Etsy. Now, I've sold furniture on Etsy for many years and very, very successfully. The only thing, obviously, with this is you've got the delivery cost. So you have to quote a delivery cost on Etsy. So what I've done when I sell furniture is I do a deal with a courier company and say, right, I want you to deliver any item within the UK. We might have to make an exclusion for sort of Northern Scotland, things like this, but mainland UK, excluding any islands, I want you to deliver an item for a set price. And what happens is, I've just had to change courier actually because my previous one retired. But you agree a price with the courier company and you say, this is the price, no matter what size, this is the price I will pay you to deliver it. And so they will get that same price if they're delivering a bedside cabinet 30 miles down the road as they will if they're delivering a 3-piece suite 200 miles away. But at the end of the day, it all evens out. But it enables you to then go on Etsy and say, right, the delivery price is X, and this is it. So furniture is an unbelievably good category. Vinyl records, obviously, but you can sell CDs, etc., anything like that at all on Etsy. Now, just to put this into perspective, hopefully I'm not going to upset anyone now with the next slide. I'm going to show you something which probably nobody on here would think you can sell on Etsy, and these. So there is not just a top category, there are, oh gosh, a massive amount of categories for sex toys on Etsy. Now, we're talking about Etsy marketing themselves as this sort of handmade and vintage marketplace. These are obviously not handmade. And there is just a huge number of these items on there and they're selling. But it's not something you would think of doing. And I believe, I've never sold them, but I believe there's very, very good markup in these. Right, so I don't think I've lost anyone. So just to give you a very brief idea of some of the things I've sold. So lighting, I've sold lights, all sorts of lights, ceiling lights, wall lights, table lamps, etc. Again, I've done very, very well with that over the years. Books, there are categories for all sorts of books on there. You may want to specialize in a particular category of book, or you may just want to sell, you know, a broad range of say non-fiction or certain sorts of fiction. It's probably not the ideal market for Etsy, in fairness, but non-fiction in particular is quite a good category on there. I've sold antiques and collectibles, all sorts of things, furniture I mentioned, rugs, clothes and accessories. You can, when the sun comes back, it's brightening up a bit out there, but you can sell sunglasses, anything like that. Again, all brand new. Art and paintings. This is a big category, and you can obviously sell new, or you could produce your own art and paintings. I'll come on to that a bit later on. So that is a very, very strong category there. I actually had a shop selling crucifixes and religious statues. I'm not a religious person. I just found a very good source for these items, and I had a shop. It's one I stopped a little while ago. I'm thinking of restarting one on that. because it was incredibly successful. It's one of those things where you get a bit of a following and people will come back. That happens on Etsy all the time. People will come back and buy from you again and again, much more than on other marketplaces. But certain niches like this, people will keep coming back. Jewelry is very good. That is, you can sell a whole range of jewelry. It's one of the, well, you saw it's the third biggest category on Etsy. So lots and lots of potential there. And print on demand. I love print on demand. It's a fantastic opportunity. And you can produce art and paintings using print on demand at the end of the day. There's lots of other things you can do, but you can produce your own artwork, canvas prints, framed prints, whatever you want. And you haven't got to be an artist to do it. There are ways, there are programs you can use. So that way you're capitalizing on, you know, a very good or a very successful category. So I'm just going to run you through a few of the trending items. If you're thinking, well, that's okay, well, what would I actually sell? And this is if you know, sort of want to actually carry stock or things like that. But these, obviously, weddings are massive, absolutely massive at the moment, because all these poor people who've had to cancel their weddings, you know, some of them sort of 2-3 times or more. And the wedding market is absolutely taking off. Now, you could say, right, you know, well, you know, I can't sell wedding, well, you could sell wedding dresses, but I can't sell wedding dresses or things like that. But think of all the little things that you could do, like, for instance, the best man and bridesmaids gifts. These could be turned into a print on demand item. I'll talk about that a bit more later on. But ties for the best man, jewelry, table decor, all these sorts of things. They're smaller items and you can source them very quickly and easily and at the right price. Party supplies, which would kind of tie in with that a little bit. But of course, everybody is, you know, we can get together again. We've all been locked down and fed up and what have you. But, you know, these party supplies are absolutely taking off crazy at the moment. So anything like that. But this is always a very, very good category, always on Etsy throughout the whole year, because obviously you have things like Christmas and things like that, but you obviously have birthdays throughout the year, that sort of thing, kids' parties and things. It's a very, very strong category, one of the best on Etsy. So that, again, lots of potential there, because a lot of these items are quite cheap to source. Excuse me. Accessories. I've mentioned sunglasses a couple of times. Caps and hats are very good. They are bizarrely a good market. Scarves, believe it or not, is a massive market. You know, summer and winter type of scarves. It's very, 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 very strong sales on Etsy. Now, hair clips, bows. This is a massive market. All this sort of accessory market is huge on Etsy. But hair products are massive. Purses, wallets, anything of these sort of things. And my final sort of suggestion, if you're thinking what could you sell, is home decor, candles, wall decor, all these sorts of things are trending at the moment. So just a bit of food for thought there. I just have to open a few more shops myself stuck on some of these, but yeah, there's massive potential in these at the moment. So mistake number 2, as I like to call it, is that Etsy is only a small marketplace. My opinion, and I think it is fairly common when you look at the figures and you talk to people, is people think that Etsy is A, it's for craftspeople, and B, that it's a very, very small marketplace, and it's for these, you know, people sat at home making their little crafts and selling them online, maybe as a bit of a hobby. Forget that. Seriously, please forget that. And this idea that Etsy is only a small marketplace, let me tell you, this Etsy has been growing and growing at a massive rate, and it wasn't small before, but now it is much, much bigger. Just to give you some ideas, these are the last available statistics, are obviously from last year. And all the figures I'm going to show you on here are from either Etsy or sites like Statistica, which is a very well-respected site, which you can actually go on. You may need to subscribe if you want to get to some of the figures, but these are all authentic figures. So on Etsy in 2020, there were 81 million active buyers. So that, you know, that's a massive number of buyers, but there were only 4.1 million sellers. So nearly 20 million buyers to every seller, which is a pretty staggering figure. If you compare that with eBay, the ratio is much lower. So there are 7.3 million buyers to every seller. So there are very rough figures. Well, let's say 2.75 times as many buyers for every seller on Etsy than there are on eBay. Obviously, eBay has been established a bit longer, but it's becoming saturated, to be quite honest. And so you've got this massive number of products, this massive number of sellers. So you've got more and more competition. But this is not the case on Etsy. Not yet, which is why now is why you've really got to get in. So Etsy is now the third largest marketplace behind only Amazon and eBay in the UK. It really is growing rapidly. If we compare it with eBay's sales, they sort of bobble along, if you like, but they've been more or less flat since 2015, and in 2019 declined, as you can see I've put there. Lockdown, we all had to buy everything online, and wow, fantastic sales on eBay rose by 16.9%. So a very good increase. Let's compare that with Etsy, and this will stagger you. Sales on Etsy during the same period were 107% up. It's just growing far better, far more strongly and quicker than any of the experts have predicted. Its growth is absolutely phenomenal. If we look at some of the figures, and the interesting thing is that Etsy has grown without exception. Sales on Etsy have grown every single year. So it started in 2013, excuse me, with sales of 1.35 billion. So by 2019, that was up to 4.94 billion. But then lockdown, we had this phenomenal increase. And don't think this is a blip, because the current figures, Etsy's own figures, show that it's growing even more rapidly than this still. But these are the last sort of official figures, if you like, from 2020. But that is such a massive increase, and it's why you really need to get on there now, because you know you don't want to miss the boat. It's a phenomenal opportunity. So where are the buyers? Because this is a big thing, isn't it? At the end of the day, I'm assuming most of us are in the UK. There might be a few people from elsewhere. But off that 81 million, 30% are in the UK and 61% are in the US. The thing with this is these figures, this 81 million, this is active buyers. So this is not people who are registered as a buyer on Etsy. This is people who actually bought in 2020 on Etsy. So that is 81 million active buyers. So 30% in the UK, that relates to 24 million buyers, and 61% are in the US. So 91% are split between the UK and the US. And ultimately, these are the two main markets. You know, on all my different marketplaces, I sell little bits to other countries, you know, a bit to Europe, you might sell a tiny bit to Japan, places like that. But ultimately, the real core markets are the UK and the US, and they are where you really want to aim your market. And of course, you know, you have the language is the same. So if we compare eBay, so 28% of eBay traffic is from the US, and 28% from the US, 25% from the UK. So only 53% of eBay's traffic is from those two countries. So 47% are in other countries. And as I put there, most of them probably speak a different language. The thing is that we're talking like almost, you've got this massive market on eBay, but half of them are very unlikely to buy from you. This is the thing. Whereas on Etsy, nearly everyone is in the UK or the US, so is a potential customer. And you have this thing about language. So if we look at Etsy, you'll find that on Etsy, they will auto-translate all of these languages on your listings. It's all done automatically. If you're fluent in Dutch or Japanese, you can go on and manually input all the information yourself, but I'm not sure why you would really want to, you know, unless you feel the need. But Etsy will auto-translate all of your listings into those languages. So if somebody in France clicks on one of my listings, they will see it all in French, which obviously makes a big difference and increases their potential, you know, of buying. eBay, on the other hand, I used to, I stopped it quite a few years ago. I used to pay a company to translate all my listings. There are companies who will link with eBay, but you have to pay to have all your listings translated, and it can get quite expensive. And when you relate that cost to the sales you're getting, it's really, really not worth it. But all of this is auto-translated. If you searched for, you know, something on eBay France, it might pick up certain words in your title, and those results would come through to somebody viewing on eBay in France, but the description would still all be in English. So, you know, they've got to be a pretty keen buyer to do that. I actually had a friend the other day who rang me and wanted to buy something from eBay France, all in French, couldn't understand half of it, so I had to translate it all for him. Fortunately, I speak French, so and work it all out for him with the seller. And it was a really, really complicated business. But he wanted this item. He bought it, but at the end of the day, he said, I'm never going to do that again. So, you know, this just makes things so much more easy. So what are your chances of your listing getting seen? Because ultimately, this is what it's all about, isn't it? So Etsy and eBay both rank you in a very, very similar way. But if you now look at the number of items for sale on each of the two marketplaces, and hopefully you're getting an idea now of why I find Etsy such a fantastic marketplace. There's 60 million items on Etsy. There's 81 million buyers. And yet on eBay, there are 1.7 billion items. This is eBay's own figures. So 1.7 billion items. So your item is 1 in 1.7 billion, whereas on Etsy, it's 1 in 60 million. So, you know, not only do you have this massive marketplace, this massive number of potential customers, but you've also got, you know, much, much more chance of your item being seen because it's one in a much smaller number of potential items that somebody would buy. So quite interesting and sobering figures. And the thing is that everyone, you know, a lot of people, this is their first thought, oh, I'll go and sell on eBay. But if you actually look at the potential on Etsy, it's so misunderstood. It really is it's a fantastic marketplace. And if you're in the know and you know how, this is the thing with Etsy, you need to know how to make money on Etsy. So that's what I'm going to go on to in a little bit, but this just gives you some idea of the potential, I hope. So another very interesting figure is that 40% of buyers on Etsy are repeat buyers. And this is why it's absolutely critical that you build up a good customer following and a good rapport, because people will come back. Obviously, it depends on what you're selling. There are certain items they're not going to buy again and again. But overall, 40% of buyers on Etsy come back and buy again. So if you can build up a following like that, and on certain of my shops, I get a massive number of repeat customers coming back again and again and again. So you really do need to sort of build up this customer relationship, if you like, and it's very, very easy to do. It's just a case of knowing how. I find, and this is personal opinion, obviously, but I find you get a better class of buyer on Etsy as opposed to eBay. There's no auctions, no offers, so you get exactly what your asking price. and buyers pay immediately. Obviously, you don't get the funds quite immediately, but on eBay, somebody can buy something, as you may well be aware if you've sold or bought or whatever. Somebody can buy something, buy in inverted commas, because they then actually might not pay for 3 days, and you're sat there thinking, are they going to buy this? Are they going to pay for it? Are they not? But meanwhile, your item's ended, and there might have been another seller come along who buy it instantly and pay for it. On Etsy, they can't do that. If they want to buy something, they need to pay for it instantly. Until they pay for it, your item stays for sale. So if it's a one-off item, it's there and it's waiting until somebody pays for it, and they pay for it and that's it. You also get paid a lot quicker on Etsy than on eBay, believe it or not. eBay used to be very, very good. Over the years, their payment was a little bit slow, and then obviously most of it was through PayPal. And what happened was that if somebody bought something on eBay, your funds would be immediately in PayPal and you could download them immediately. Now that's great if you're a business and you need the funds for turnover, you want to buy more stock. With eBay now, it's taking probably about 3 days for funds to come through. And for private sellers, they've really got very, very silly, because they won't pay for a month unless you can prove through tracking that your item's actually been delivered, which is a bit of a crazy situation. On Etsy, you decide when you want your funds. So I just automatically set it for payout the next day, obviously next working day, and it doesn't work at weekends. But what I sell today, I will get on Monday. What I sell on Monday will be direct into my bank account on Tuesday. The bizarre thing is that Etsy and eBay are using the same payment provider. So obviously eBay, somewhere along the line, are holding on to that money for a period of days before releasing it, which is not happening with Etsy. They're releasing the funds immediately. Excuse me. So this is the big thing, I think, that you get on eBay. You get people making you offers. Even if you haven't got an item on with offers, you'll get people emailing you all the time, will you take this? And quite often it's some ridiculous amount, sort of half of what you've got something advertised for. And it can get a bit frustrating. Obviously, you can set it so that you automatically reject silly offers below a certain amount, but you will still get all these people emailing you and asking you to reduce your price, whatever, on eBay. Now, I probably count on one hand the number of times I've had that on Etsy over all the years. It's just different. People they'll just pay for it and buy it, and that's it. So it is a different marketplace somehow. So fees obviously come into it. Fees are lower on Etsy than other sites. So I've done a bit of a comparison for you so that you can see what we're talking about here. I'll show you. It's very difficult to do a comparison with eBay because, as I've put at the bottom, the amount they charge you in different categories vary. So they'll charge you more for antiques, say, than they will for books, etc. So the final value fee, as they call it, will vary depending on the category that you're selling in. So it's very, very difficult to get an exact idea of the fees. So what I did is I took two identical shops, one of my shops on eBay, one of my shops on Etsy, and I selling identical items, and I compared the fees. And I was being charged on average 14.5% on Etsy, on eBay rather, but only 7.4% on Etsy. Etsy actually quotes 7.5%, but when I worked the figures, it was 7.4%. So if you think of that, if you sold your item on Etsy for the same price as on eBay, you're already making 7% more profit before you start. And on Etsy in general, I find you can get a higher price than you can on eBay. So there's a massive potential there. In terms of the shops, you can see the figures there. I won't go through them all and bore you with it. Shopify obviously is a slightly different kettle of fish, but as I said earlier, you've got to generate all your customers. You've got to get all your traffic to that shop. So really the comparison that we're talking about is between eBay and Etsy, and it's absolutely free to start a shop on Etsy. There are no charges whatsoever. Obviously on eBay, you're talking about £25 a month, which, you know, is a lot of money if you add that up over the years, but entirely free on Etsy. I've put top level, I've £7.30 odd amount. I've translated that at the current rate from US dollars, because Etsy being a US site, they quote everything in dollars. Now, if you want to have a top level shop, it will cost you about £7.30 a month. I don't bother with them. I've put this on here for comparison. There are very, very minor benefits to having one of the top level shops. The real benefit is that you can change the layout of your shop. You can have, I say change the layout, the way the photos display, you can have certain items displayed in a bigger size photo, things like that. But in actual fact, it won't even cost you £7.30 a month. It will probably only cost you £2 or £3, because what Etsy will do is, if you subscribe to the top level shop, they'll actually give you, I can't remember the exact amount, it's maybe about a £5, a credit for advertising on Etsy. So if you're doing advertising on Etsy, it's probably only going to cost you a couple of pounds a month to have the high level shop. Having said that, I still don't bother. I personally, I don't see a major advantage there. Once you get into Etsy, if you feel it's for you, then obviously by all means do that. But it's, you know, the costs are absolutely minimal. But this just gives you some idea. If you think you're saving 7% in your costs, and you're saving on your £25 a month, if you like, for a basic shop on eBay, you're already way ahead on your profits. So Etsy have recently, it's only probably about 3-4 months ago, maybe, might be slightly longer, introduced video listings. And a lot of people get scared when you start talking about video listings, and it's very easy to do. 64%, as you can see there, are more likely to buy after viewing a video. So it's very important, if you can, to do a video off your item. Now, I show people how to do this, and believe me, when you know how, it's very simple. You've all got a smartphone which you can use to do this. I don't doubt that for a minute. You know, there are people out there filming news programs on smartphones, and you think it's all filmed on a professional camera. It's quite often filmed on a smartphone, because they can take phenomenally good videos. But when I talk about making a video for your listings, we're talking about a 15-second video. That's all we're talking about. And you know, you need to know exactly how to lay things out for a video, and how to make your video properly, which I show everyone how to do that. Because it's no good putting a poor quality video on. You might as well not put one on at all. You'll see people on there, and the things are moving around like this, and it just looks horrendous. So you know, there are ways and techniques of doing that, but you literally, all you need is that smartphone you've already got, and maybe a tripod, and you can get one of them for £10 or £15, depending on, you know, if you want just a little one, depends on what you're selling. If you want one of these little ones, they call them octopuses or whatever, they're probably less than that. And a full-size tripod of Chinese origin maybe cost you £15 or something. So, you know, you're not talking any outlay whatsoever. And if you don't want to fork out on a tripod, then probably phone up against some books or something. You know, there's ways around all these things. So, you know, that is a way of potentially increasing your sales massively. Now, this is a funny one. I love to mention this because you can charge for gift wrapping on Etsy. I'm not aware of any other site where you can do that, not the mainstream ones. And there's actually programs in place which you can put onto your Etsy shop, dead simple, so that you can charge for gift wrapping. Now, you know, there's a lot of people out there who don't want to wrap something, men especially, let's be quite honest. And I get this with some of my shops. I get a huge number of orders coming through with gift wrapping. Now, this shop I'm talking about, the one in particular, you know, I'm talking a very, very small item. So I can charge them £3 or £4 for gift wrapping. At the end of the day, a little square of paper and a bit of ribbon costs me pennies. It takes just a couple of minutes to do it, and I'm making a few pound more. Now that might seem a little bit of a fiddle, but if you're getting, you know, if you're getting 10 orders coming through for gift wrapping each day, that's potentially another £30 to £40 profit per day. And you can do it all through Etsy. It's all automated. They will collect the money for you and pay it out to you in exactly the same way as normal. You've just got to wrap it up. Fortunately, I rely on my better half to do most of that, but you know, it literally just takes a matter of minutes to do it, and it's a big opportunity to add a lot of extra income over the period of a year. So if you don't want to buy stock or keep stock, if you haven't got anywhere to store it, if you haven't got the money to fork out on lots of stock, you haven't got to buy lots of stock, let's be quite honest. But if you don't want to fork out, I mean, that shop I spoke about, the one I started 6 months ago, that I only spent £200 on stock. But, you know, if you don't want to have stock at all, and if you don't want to post anything, then there is a way of making a passive income, and a very, very nice passive income. There are people on Etsy who have sold hundreds of thousands of items in this way. And if you want to start immediately, I mean, you can pretty much start an Etsy business immediately, but obviously you've got to, you know, if you've got to buy stock and things like that, then you need to find wholesalers, etc. If you want to start immediately, if you want to start tomorrow, then the answer is print on demand. And this is a massive potential. I do print on demand, and I absolutely love it, to be quite honest. And I'll just run you through why you should be doing print on demand. No need to buy stock. We've already mentioned that. So you don't need to buy anything at all. Setup costs are basically, they're zero. It's only a couple of little programs which I would recommend that you buy, but you don't have to have them, but they will, you know, you can use them to generate very professional looking listings for your print on demand items. You can personalize products, print on demand, and personalization is massive. It really is. If you look at a lot of the items on Etsy, personalization will increase your sales phenomenally. And if at the end of the day you haven't got to do anything, if you can set up your item, they fill in their name or whatever they want, put on your item, and it's all automated. You haven't got to personally that's a mouthful, isn't it? Personally personalize it. So, you know, that's another way that you can massively increase your sales, by personalizing items. And everything's drop shipped. You can't, as a general rule, drop ship much on Etsy. Their rules state that you must have had some input into the design or the making of an item for it to be drop shipped. And of course, print on demand comes into that category. You can come up with a design, you can generate a design for something, link it to your producer, they will drop ship it for you. So you don't need to post anything, everything is drop shipped. Also allows you to test new lines at no cost. So if you were selling you know, pots and pans, let's say we spoke about kitchenware earlier on, and you decided you wanted to test a new line in casserole pots or something, you'd have to physically buy at least one casserole pot and put it on for sale to see if it's going to sell. So that's, you know, an outlay, if you like. But with print on demand, you can generate as many items as you want and put them up for sale. The only thing that it's going to cost you is the 20 cents, which is 15 pence or something like that, per item to list it. And the interesting thing is that unlike eBay, where you pay an insertion fee and your item is on there for 1 month, on Etsy, you pay your 20 cents and your item is on there for 3 months. So you're getting it on there for a lot longer. Quick turnaround if you're using a UK-based company or something like that. Obviously, a lot of people drop ship on the likes of eBay and that, and everything's coming from China, and it takes forever to arrive. You can use a dropship company in UK or Europe, and you know there's one on there who I ordered several items I sold yesterday. I ordered from them yesterday morning. They'd shipped it by just shortly after lunch. They'd actually produced, manufactured individual items and shipped them out by lunch on the same day. So it's a phenomenally quick turnaround, which of course is good for feedback. All your items are unique, so you're not competing on price. You know, it's not the same as like we were talking about, you know, 2 iPhones being the same. You can generate completely unique items. You can have a completely unlimited number of designs, and you can have a much higher profit margin because, as I said, there's, you know, they're unique items. They've got nothing else to compare it with. And you can link direct to your manufacturer. So you've got absolutely nothing at all to do. So that's the benefit of print on demand, and I thoroughly recommend it. It's fantastic. It makes me a lot of money. So give you a quick idea, because I'm running a bit late here, so I'm going to speed up a bit. This just gives you some idea of some of the items. So print on demand, I expect most of you were thinking t-shirts and mugs. These are just a tiny number of the items that you can do. You know, all variety of clothing, phone cases, pet bowls. You can even do personalized pet bandanas, believe it or not. I haven't done it, but they're out there. You can do it. Your prints, your art, we spoke about earlier on. You can do things like placemats, coasters. You can produce posters. You can even produce embroidered items and cards. You can do cards, print on demand. So it's an absolutely phenomenal number of items. And this isn't everything. This is just to give you some idea. You can have pillows personalized if people want their initials put on their pillows, things like that. So a huge number of items. And then you can do this. So I've just done this for the purposes of this presentation. I'm not selling this, obviously. So I've just produced this design. I've put it onto one of the manufacturers I use. They've come up with a design, and I've then transplanted that using some other software, which will cost you very, very little. And you can see that there is my design. That design has never, ever been made. But as far as most people looking at your listing are concerned, there it is. There's somebody wearing it. Same with a mug. Here's somebody holding a mug with my dog on. He doesn't look anything like that, actually, but he's a bit old and grey like me. But you can see that mug has literally, I've just produced this for the purposes of this. But as far as anyone looking in is going to see, they're going to think that that item exists because there's somebody holding it and it's for sale. So you can do this to make your items look very, very professional. Sounds easy. It is when you know how. So the first thing you need to do is build a business. So I'm going to run through building a business on Etsy, because this is the key to success. It's all very well telling you what you can do, but you need to know how to build a business. And the first thing you need to do is build a brand. This is absolutely critical to success on Etsy. You must build a brand. And so you need to come up with the name of your shop, your brand, your idea, develop a logo which you use consistently throughout. It's all about being professional and showing somebody that, you know, you are a professional business, a bit like Claire was talking about earlier on, everything looking that you spent time to set everything up. If you look like a professional business, then people will have much more confidence in your business and they will buy for you. So you need to build your brand, and you need to protect it from other people trying to pinch it, basically, or sort of clone it, if you like. The other thing you need to do to make big money is SEO. Now, there's nothing scary about that. Some of you out there may be excellent at SEO, but there's no code or anything needed, but you do need to know exactly what you've got to do on Etsy in order to, you know, where to place keywords, all these sorts of things. And it's very, very specific. and the things that you need to do in order to get ranked on the search engines. And we're talking here Etsy's own search engine, if you like, how you actually get ranked on Etsy. And of course, also how you'll get ranked on Google, because Etsy and Etsy shops will appear on Google. And that all comes down to how you do your SEO on your Etsy shop. Very simple, don't worry about it. So we spoke about video listings. Absolutely essential that you have very good quality photos. Nothing worse than going on to something and there's a blurry photo of something, or it's upside down or whatever. So I help people with how to set out for photos, how to take good photos. Again, all you need is that phone. Literally, that is all you need. You've all got a phone, I'm sure, perfectly capable of doing top quality photos and fantastic videos. Mobile optimization is something else. This is absolutely key to increasing your sales. And scary as it is, the number of people who fail to optimize their listings for mobile on Etsy is absolutely scary. It's just a case of knowing how. Again, no code, nothing complicated. 58% of all sales on Etsy are on the app. That actually, compared with eBay, only 35% of sales on eBay are on mobiles, believe it or not. But 58% last year on Etsy, and it's rapidly growing. And my guess is that it's probably much, much higher now. I know my kids, they've got laptops, but they're probably gathering dust in the corner. They're constantly on their phone. When they buy anything, it's on their phone. So to not optimize your listings on Etsy for mobile is crazy. You know, that's 58% of people are going to look at your listing and think, oh, that looks rubbish, or I can't be bothered to read it or whatever, because it's not optimized. So you also, as I said earlier, 40% of buyers are repeat buyers. So it's absolutely critical that you provide good customer service. But there's another way of doing this. It's by using promotions and coupons and offers. And there are all sorts of things you can do. If somebody puts something in their basket and doesn't buy it, you can automate the whole process of sending them a coupon. Hey, you left this in your basket. You know, if you'd like to check out now, here's 10% off. You can do the same with thank you. When somebody buys something, you can say, oh, thanks very much. Here's a little 10% off your next item. And it all just builds your potential number of sales, to be quite honest. So you can also, well, I'll talk about that in a minute. I'm going to talk about advertising quickly. Now, this scares people, and as you know, this is my background is advertising. Now, you can boost your sales on Etsy. We're talking about advertising on Etsy. You can do other sorts of advertising, but the key is to do advertising on Etsy, and you can do it from $1 a day, which is maybe 80p, is it, something like that at the current rate, which is nothing in the scheme of things. You're talking about £20 a month if you spend $1 a day advertising your listings. So when you start out, your shop is not going to get ranked highly. So what you do is you start advertising, you start spending $1 a day to advertise your items, and you'll see on Etsy, you see everything in a row. So there'll be sort of 5 listings across and another 5 underneath, etc. The top row will almost certainly be adverts to start with. Then you'll go down another 3 rows. The next row will be adverts. You won't know that. When you go on Etsy next time, stop and look, and the only thing is there will be a tiny little AD in the corner. You will not know those are adverts. You will just think that they've come up as a result of your search. And you only pay when somebody actually clicks on your advert and goes to your shop. And it costs $1 a day. And it will make a huge difference to your sales, particularly in the early days, although I still use it on some of my shops, not all of them, depends on the product, but I still use it on some of them to keep those sales well up. So you also need to build up your feedback. It's not like eBay where, you know, 9 out of 10 people will leave feedback when they buy something. Etsy, bizarrely, doesn't take any, makes no efforts in encouraging people to leave feedback at all. And so, you know, you need to use your own techniques to try and encourage people to leave feedback. And there's also something called favorites or favoriting. This used to drive me crazy when I first started on Etsy. It's a bit like, I think of it as being a bit like Pinterest. So people will, they'll favorite something and then they've got it kept as a record on their Etsy account. It might be because they're thinking of buying it. It might just be because they like the look of it and it's giving them an idea for something they want to buy in the future or do. And I used to think, oh, annoying. Why are they favoriting everything and not buying it? Don't think that, because if somebody favorites one of your items, it helps your ranking on Etsy. So all these people saying, oh, I like that, I'll pin it, if you like, onto my Etsy account, they're actually helping you get your item ranked. And inevitably, if an item gets favorited a few times, you know you're going to sell it very, very soon. So that's favoriting. But again, you can set up coupons, you can automate the whole process so that you can send a coupon to somebody who's favorited something and say, hey, here's a little discount or here's free postage. You have control over what you do on that. So the other thing, this is pretty obvious, but just to state the obvious, you need to source your products properly. If you're buying physical products, if you're doing print on demand, then that's a different matter. But if you're sourcing physical products, then you must buy at wholesale prices. And I discuss this with people, how you actually find the right wholesalers, which obviously is critical. And profit margin, it's obvious, isn't it? But so many people, I started doing this because people could see I was making a lot of money on Etsy. Friends and people who knew me would come to me and say, oh, how do you do this? How do you do that? And so this is why I initially put together this course, so that I didn't have to keep repeating myself, basically. But people would come to me and they would say, oh, I'm not making any money. I'm selling things, but I'm not making any money. So I'd say, well, how much profit have you got? Oh, well, I don't know. Or it would be like 10%. So it's crazy. I work on, you know, my favorite figure is 50% to work on. But you need to build in all your costs. You know, you need to take into account how you're going to work out your advertising costs and spread them over, and your postage and packaging, etc. So that's profit margin. But sadly, so few people actually really know how to do it properly. And finally, the other thing I will say is you need to know who your ideal customer is, your avatar. This, you know, you can tell I'm from a marketing background, but this will make a difference if you spend the time to do it. You need to know who your customer is, what age they are they male, are they female? It might be both, but then you would approach them in different ways. And if you know who your customer is, their age, their background, etc., some people even give their ideal customer a name. If you know who they are, you know how to talk to them, and you will word your listing correctly, and you will put in the benefits for that particular customer. So it's really, really important that you know who that is. It's no good talking to somebody and you know, there's an example I like to give. I went out into town one day and I was just wearing a shirt, a pair of jeans, but I had on a good pair of leather brogues, and everyone was calling me sir. The next day I had to go into town again. It was a hot sunny day, so I put on a pair of pumps that I'd bought for the summer, and everyone started calling me mate. Well, I don't like being called mate. So you can see, you know, if you're treating somebody like that, calling them mate, then it's not, you know, you're not contacting or speaking to your ideal customer as they want to be spoken to. So there's a lot to learn. You need to put all of these different elements together in order to be successful on Etsy. But the potential is absolutely phenomenal. You know, if you want to use this to earn a little bit extra cash, that's great. But if you want to really make big money, then you need to use all of these techniques.